Tour starts in February. I'll do UK and keep going back and forth, you know, between gigs and that. I want to do New York in May probably, and then other parts of America.
You haven't toured like
because there are other parts of America.
Yes.
I've heard.
I don't know. I stick to here.
New Yorkers don't think there is though. It's like it's New York and LA, and the rest is just a bunch of shit that we're not familiar with.
Right,
exactly.
Right. That's why nobody here understands how Trump won.
Yeah.
They're like, but we all, none of us voted for him.
Well, he didn't really.
Yeah. Where do you
divide the audience straight away?
You just figured out immediately.
Oh, I knew. No, because I went through Brexit. So I go out on stage and I go, oh, Brexit, and other people go, oh, I go, oh yeah, people have got different opinions now. Oh yeah.
It's a good litmus test, though.
Yeah, it was an inoculation for me because I lived through Brexit, and then when this happened, I thought, yeah, no, it was on its way.
Isn't it weird how mad people get at you for an opinion? Like, if you try to be funny with an opinion and that it's not their opinion, they get so angry at you for having the opinion.
Well, I mean, I think that was part of why this happened. I think people felt sick of being told what they can do and think, and it just divided into two camps, which isn't. There's 1,000 camps, you know.
Right.
But they divided it into two, you know, for or against, liberal elite or fascist, and it's like it's not that. Do you know what I mean? That's what it came to, and this was sort of like a reaction to that. I think that they went, no, we've had enough.
But it's just weird for like somebody like you to go from like the Golden Globes, where you were making the Hollywood liberal elite kind of upset with you because you were making fun of them, and that was a bit of your reputation, to being critical of Trump, which means you are now the Hollywood liberal elite.
Of course, it's all mixed up. People want to know whose side you're on before they decide what you said was funny or good or right. They've picked a side.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So people who like Trump will not see any bad in anything he does. He said himself, I could shoot someone off Fifth Avenue, and he's right, you know. And the other side won't see any good in what he does because you know what I mean? So they don't want to, there's this new thing of winning is more important than being right.
Right.
And it started with social media, and it started with political correctness, where people now believe, they quite rightly believe their opinion is worth as much as someone else's opinion.
Yeah. Quite rightly, you just said to be polite.
Well, some people are idiots. Like, let's be honest. No, but even if your opinion is worth as much as someone else's opinion, people now think their opinion is worth as much as other people's facts. And it's the world gone crazy. The alternative facts. What? We used to call them lies.
Yeah.
What do you mean alternative facts?
Right. And anything you don't agree with that you see, well, fake news.
Fake news.
That's fake news. That's not.
I know.
That's not the news.
I like alternative facts, though. Girls like, you said you were going to tell me that was an alternative fact.
Well, it's dangerous, isn't it, that you can have alternative facts?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And again, I've sort of seen this happening for like 2 or 3 years on Twitter, when you do get to meet people you wouldn't normally meet, you know, unless you went to a mental home. But now I can follow them from the safety of my Hampstead mansion. Oh, you're mental. You know. But they don't like facts. It annoys them. I found out when I went on Twitter, I found out that the atheists are the most hated group in the world. Right? You know, they're people think atheists. There was a
just
poll,
for believing nothing.
Just for not believing. Yeah. They were voted least trustworthy group in America, joint bottom with rapists.
How about rapist atheists? They were the highest, actually, ironically.
Yeah. You find out things like that from Twitter, but you mainly find out that the average person is scarily misinformed.
Do you ever regret weighing in? Like, sometimes you're like, oh, why did I say anything? I should have just said nothing.
I've gone through that. The first time I went on Twitter, I'd do a tweet, and one person who disagreed with it or misunderstood it, it would take me all day to explain the tweet, right? Yeah. Then I got good at just doing the tweet, and now I just don't give a fuck, because someone's going to disagree with it. Someone's going to just on principle. And people get in the way. They get in the way. You talk about something, and people get offended, and I try and explain to them that no, I'm not tweeting you, I'm just tweeting. It's like going into town and seeing a notice board, and it says guitar lessons. And you go, I don't want fucking guitar lessons. Right? Well, no, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And they just get in the way. It doesn't matter what you do, someone gets in the way. Like, I go, sort of terrible thing like, I'll ban bullfighting. Someone goes, what about the kids in Syria? Yeah, but I only had what? Yes, yes. It's not an option. Who is this person going? I would save the ball, but I just saved a kid in Syria. So I've run out of all my saving abilities. I can only do one thing in my life, and I used it on the kid from Syria.
Like it's a seesaw. Like you can't like one thing without disliking.
And the people who say, "Oh, I've got a better cause," they don't do fuck all for that one either.
Right.
They're doing nothing, and they're going, "What about this?" Well, what are you doing? Nothing.
Well, they're criticizing you.
Of course,
they're making it so that you.
Yeah. So it's really volatile, and it's been going for a while.
As a stand-up, though, you kind of sometimes you like a little. It's fun to convince people that they can laugh at something that they don't agree with. Like as a comic, you're up there telling them things that they don't agree with.
I felt that was my thing. All my life, I felt that was my thing, making people laugh at things they didn't think they could, taking a taboo subject and taking them by the hand through a scary forest and coming out the other way, because often offence came from people mistaking the target of a joke with the subject of a joke. And I like to deal in those taboo subjects because no harm can come from discussing contentious issues. You can do a joke about race without it being racist. And the more emotive the subject is, the harder it is for people to get over their thing. And I think that's been going a long, long time. But now, because of all this, whatever this is, I do find myself being, like, my shtick used to be being the boorish guy who said the wrong thing arrogantly, stupidly, and coming down on the wrong side for comic effect, and trusting that everyone in the audience got the irony. But now I don't know if they do. Now I think half of them won't get the irony or not care for it because, do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I don't want to I don't want to get the wrong round of applause. So it's put me in a...
You don't want to say something ironically and all of a sudden they're like, good point.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. Yeah. No. Well, no, not the... Don't you clap the ones with swastikas. No. Get out. Yeah. So it's funny. And the other thing that's come out of this year is I've never been political. I've never done political comedy. In fact, my second show was called Politics, and it was a sort of a piss take of those comedians who come out and just think it's enough to have a platform.
Right.
Where's the joke?
Right.
So it was like me thinking I knew everything and getting it wrong. But now I've never been so political. Everyone's political. This last 6 months, everyone is political. You can't avoid it because something's happened that is really frightening or dangerous or
or very great for some people.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't know what these people who like. Well, okay, yeah, but no, it does depend what side you're on. It does depend, of course it does. Yeah, what's good for you?
It's amazing that like you can't. There used to be a thing where if you could find the kernel of funny in the subject, regardless of whose expense it was at, if you could find that thing, you could get a crowd to laugh at it, and you can't as much anymore. It should be
non-partisan. Comedy is an intellectual pursuit. It shouldn't be always coming down on one side or platforming, because then it's not comedy anymore. It's rallying. I've heard comics come out, like Northern comics, bigoted comics we used to call them 70s comics, come out on stage, and they just said things like, what are we going to do about all these fucking immigrants? And they get a round of applause, and I'm just going, where's the joke?
He's not even doing a character.
See, and I was thinking, what's the answer?
Yeah. You know what I mean? So comedy should never have been that sort of thing. You're right. You've got to find the funny. And this thing about people say, they always say to me, punching up or punching down. Sometimes a joke isn't punching at all. Yeah. It can be a pun. It can just be funny. It can just be words. It doesn't... But now people are trying to find your side before they decide on whether they can laugh or like you or not.
You know who's the master of walking that line, too? Colin Quinn walks that line really well, and he had a funny joke about punching down. He said comedy never punches down, and I've read that from at least 50 people who've never done comedy. And he's absolutely right.
Yeah. And it's the should. They
should always punch up.
Should, yeah, I know. It's really weird. I did a thing on Jimmy Fallon last time I was here, and it was about it wasn't weeing on him. Russians have got the tape of me weeing on Jimmy Fallon.
I'm trying to get them to tape me, they won't.
And I'm denying it. You just said you did. No, I didn't. No, fake news.
Yeah, alternative facts.
But you said it.
That was an alternative.
I was doing fake news. About yourself. Yeah, it was locker room talk. Where's this locker room? Fucking prison. Where is it? Alcatraz. Where is this locker where people suddenly admit to crime?
Yeah. So I don't know why Joe Paterno couldn't get off on locker room talk. I don't know.
Well, now you can just say it was just locker room talk.
Yeah.
Where was I?
You were on Fallon.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and I did a thing about I'm spoiled, you know. When I travel first class, and they bring round sort of like nuts and champagne. You take it for granted. And last time I was on a plane, they came round and there's champagne. I said, "Oh, are there any nuts?" And she said, "Oh, we're not handing out nuts today because there's a lady getting on who's so allergic to nuts. Just someone else eating them in the vicinity would cause a fatal reaction." And I go, "Oh yeah, of course." And inside I was fuming. I've never wanted nuts more. I felt that she was infringing on my human right to eat nuts.
Yeah.
Right? And I say things like, I wish I had my own nuts. I wish I'd bought my own nuts on. But then I go, oh no, because then they'd see me eating nuts and she'd blow up like a frog, and they go on YouTube, it's Ricky Gervais eating nuts. So now what I do before I fly is I just rub myself down in nuts. Right? So I told that story on Fallon, and the people laughed. And the next day it goes out, and there's outrage. But by outrage, I mean 2 people on Twitter,
Right.
whose children are allergic to nuts. Right? So Ohio mums against kids with nuts. Right?
But their hashtags match.
Oh, of course,
so
yeah.
it's organized.
And they're talking. And the first I think, oh, they go, that's terrible. You shouldn't do this. And I think, oh my God, they're going to stir up trouble. 24 followers. Don't worry about it, right?
Yeah.
And then they're atting Jimmy Fallon, NBC, and all this and that. And one of them did a little video of her daughter saying, "Ricky Gervais, I have no delete." Right. Right? So, not even a fucking true story. Do you know what I mean? Right? Yeah. So, and then one of them got me. She said, "You should never make jokes about food allergies." And I should have left it, but I sent back, "I make jokes about AIDS, famine, paedophilia, and the Holocaust, and you're saying I should never joke about food allergies."
Right.
And she sent back, "Yes, but the Holocaust didn't kill children." Wow.
Is that really?
It did. Yeah, it did. Hitler, horrible, wasn't he? Oh, a psychopathic, racist murderer. But if I was throwing a dinner party and there was one seat left, and I could either invite Hitler or a kid with food allergy, I mean, I know who'd ruin that party. You know what I mean?
Who would have funnier stories?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anything you say, someone will find offensive because it's their thing. I've done all the things I joke about in my stand-up. There's always one person from each group that says, "Oh, I like the other stuff, but not this stuff." I go, "But you know I was joking with the other stuff because it's not so emotive to you. So can't you take a step back and realise that I'm joking about all of it, including your thing? I'm not, you know, I'm not really." I don't laugh about famine or cancer or AIDS. Why do you think? But can't you do that with nut allergies? You know.
Well, and it's funny too in the office that one of the best things about that was just the lack of awareness that David Brent had that his jokes just weren't flying.
Yeah,
that was it was like, you know, he gets it, he's laughing, and he wasn't.
Yeah. Well, look, that's quite narcissistic. That like well, let's not talk about Trump again, but like Trump, right?
Right.
No, his tweet is I met a guy who said I was brilliant and he loved me and everyone loved me. It's better for it to just get it out there that everyone likes me. And David Brent used to say things like that. Everyone loves me here.
He was literally,
with no proof needed. Just everyone loves me here.
He was literally doing an interview last night, Trump. Not that we're going to talk about him.
No, I know.
He was doing an interview, and at the end of the interview, he had to get the guy from ABC News in front of a photo of Inauguration Day. They weren't even talking about it. You saw it.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Just so you know, all these people loved me. They all were standing."
He called it a sea of love. It's sea of love. That's different for you, isn't it? A sea of love is it's much stickier, isn't it?
And
I'm drowning in Jim's sea of love. Is that all in one sitting now? He keeps it in jars. and then
he dumps on himself.
Sea of my own love. But it really was a David Brent moment, because like that's something that he would do to the documentary crew. Like, you know, I call it my sea of love is what they call it.
Exactly. Know? But outside politics and what he's doing to America or the world, outside all that, as a person, he's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because he wants that validation. He's sort of a 10-year-old boy saying, "Didn't I do well?" He wants everyone to love him, just like David Brent. He's got more in common with David Brent than he has someone like JFK, because he's doing it for hugs.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
David, here's for hugs.